Processing generally affects the structure of food and increases caloric intake. We were able to get the COVID-19 epidemic under control. We have long needed a call to action to tackle the epidemic of chronic disease caused by the processed food we eat. That action can only be spurred by an accepted understanding of what lies at the root of the problem. As this book shows, most of the damage caused by highly processed, highly palatable food is driven by fast carbs. But the problem is not just carbohydrates. Processed foods that are high in combinations of fat and salt, fat and sugar, and carbs and salt are also major drivers of increased caloric intake. In recent decades, the composition of many food items has been changed to increase palatability, resulting in a marked increase in the availability of hyper-palatable foods. These foods are prevalent in our food supply, now making up almost 60% of the U.S. food system, and an estimated 67% of the total energy intake in children and adolescents aged 2 through 19. It is why evidence of metabolic and cardiovascular disease is showing up earlier in life. What we call food is, in large part, no longer simply what sustains us and what we enjoy. Its fundamental nature has changed, and it is killing us. How we have looked at this catastrophic takeover of what we eat, which has such an enormous impact on our health, begs the question, is what we eat food or fiction? Thus, the new title of this book. Introduction. The Birth of Fast Carbs. Grain is an American archetype, a symbol of the United States as a breadbasket to the world. Its influence in our history and economic development can scarcely be exaggerated. A stucco frieze on the ceiling of the New Room at Mount Vernon, the mansion owned by George Washington, showcases a sheaf of wheat. In a letter to Lafayette on June 18, 1788, Washington wrote, "I hope some day or another we shall become a storehouse and granary for the world." Abraham Lincoln created the U.S. Department of Agriculture and established land-grant colleges to promote agricultural education. Since 1887, when Congress passed the Hatch Act, professionals assigned to every farming county in the nation have been charged with ensuring that the nation's farmers have the assets they need to extract the largest return possible from the land with the greatest efficiency. In short, the federal government has played a central role in shaping American agriculture since the nation's birth. As a result, we have built a vast economic infrastructure on starch. It began with the westward expansion in the 19th century and accelerated rapidly in the 20th, taking full advantage of fertile prairie grasslands and of other conditions that enabled wheat and corn cultivation to thrive in the fields of the Midwest and West. Decades before refrigeration, the Continental Railroad system seemed purpose-built for shipping sacks of uniform, easily traded grain. The tractor and mechanized farm equipment made possible the near automation of grain harvesting. Fruit and vegetable production, by contrast, still mostly depends on human labor. After World War II, the large-scale explosives factories that could use the air's nitrogen to make ammonia were reconfigured to manufacture commercial fertilizer, which could be spread on the vast grasslands. And in his bid for re-election in 1972, Richard Nixon transformed the federal farm subsidy program, giving American farmers an incentive to grow as much starch as they possibly could. Consumer culture grew in parallel to industrial agriculture. Food companies found they could make considerable profits by selling processed foods. Then they stumbled upon the holy grail of food engineering, discovering ways to make food irresistible to the majority of Americans. With the right combinations of starch, fat, sugar, and salt, they could get people to keep eating and purchasing their products. They had a willing partner in the starch production industry, which excelled at processing whole grains into fast carbs. The expanding starch marketing apparatus received one more boon from the federal government in the form of well-intentioned dietary guidelines that unwittingly directed Americans to eat more highly processed starch. Although direct payment